Nitrogenous waste. We'll have a list of nitrogenous wastes, and then we will understand more about this particular the chapter and more details about this particular chapter. Let's write nitrogenous wastes. In that, the first one that we will understand is about the ammonia. Ammonia is highly toxic. Ammonia is highly toxic and it is readily soluble in water. Because it is highly toxic, it has to be diffused into the water quickly. Diffused into the water quickly. That is the speciality of ammonia. And the number 2, which is said to be urea, and urea is less toxic. Urea is less toxic when we compare with ammonia. Urea is 100,000 times less toxic than ammonia. So once again we repeat, urea is 100,000 times less toxic than ammonia. Now when it comes to number 3, nitrogenous waste, it is uric acid. Uric acid. The uric acid is considered to be the least toxic, and the uric acid, it will be in the form of pellets, it is in the form of a semi-solid, or it is in the form of precipitate, and they are insoluble. Like this we can able to note down or code down the kind of words as we compare with the uric acid. Let's compare between these 3 nitrogenous waste: ammonia, urea and uric acid. Ammonia is highly toxic, whereas the uric acid is least toxic, and the urea is less toxic. We can call it up. Urea is 100,000 times less toxic than ammonia. This is a statement kind of a question you have to remember here. When it comes to uric acid, you have to remember all the kind of words what we are specifying here. That is least toxic, it is in the form of pellet, it is in the form of semi-solid, precipitate, insoluble. These kind of words are very important to know about the uric acid. Now that is the 3 different varieties of majorly related to the nitrogenous waste that we have proposed. Now there is a word here, let's understand. There's a word, this word is called as uremia. Uremia. Basically, generally it should be 18 to 38 milligrams of urea will be there in the blood. 18 to 38 grams mg per 100 ml will be there in the case of in the blood. If it is exceeds or excess, then we call the condition is called as uremia. Excess amount of urea in the blood is called uremia. Now in this particular aspect of understanding, this is the word which could be also for the need, which is a quite extraordinary kind of a thing that we have to understand here. Now number 4th nitrogenous waste that what we are discussing is about the creatinine. Please make a note of that. The next nitrogenous waste is creatinine. Now the creatinine will be formed. The creatinine will be formed from creatine phosphate. From creatine phosphate, there is a formation of what is called as creatinine. This is also considered to be nitrogenous base product. Now the creatine phosphate which will be present in our muscles. So later it is converted into creatinine. Now this is if there is increase in the amount of creatinine, then means there is something problem in the kidney. There is problem in the kidney. So that has to be understood here. There is something problem in the kidney. We have to go for further checkups. Now this is the fourth one which we are understanding, which is called as a creatinine. The next one which is said to be a nitrogenous base, which is called as hippuric acid. Hippuric acid. This is a specialized product. This is a specialized product of mammals. Okay, this is also considered to be nitrogenous based hippuric acid, which is we can call it up as a specialized product in the case of mammals. There's another word, this is called ornithuric acid. Ornithuric acid. This is also considered to be specialized product. Specialized product, that is in the case of birds. In the case of birds, you can able to understand the word here, ornithology, study of birds, ornithuric acid. That is how the word has come. Now in this particular aspect, we are just understanding the nitrogenous waste, different varieties of nitrogenous waste. Similarly, we also have other nitrogenous waste like we have xanthine, another one is called guanine. These two are also considered to be nitrogenous waste. The xanthine and the guanine, these are excreted from the animals like spiders and also penguins. The same thing even in the guanine also, the spiders and the penguins will gonna excrete. But these are the xanthine and the guanine. These are the specialized kind of a product which is obtained by this kind of metabolism. Look at this word, nucleotide metabolic pathway. By this it is obtained. Nucleotide metabolic pathway from this, this xanthine and the guanine are obtained. Now that's again a kind of a speciality that what we are understanding. Now similarly, there is one more which is called as trimethylamine oxide. Trimethylamine oxide. Now this kind of nitrogenous waste, it is also again which is excreted by the fishes. Trimethylamine oxide. Now these are all nitrogenous waste what we have been discussed till now, but majorly we discuss ammonia, urea and also uric acid. Now when it comes to major kind of main nitrogenous waste, as per these main nitrogenous waste, animals are classified into three different groups. Animals are classified into three types. One is called as ammonotelic, another one is called ureotelic, another one is called uricotelic. Once again, ammonotelic, ureotelic and uricotelic. Now The animals which eliminate majorly the ammonia, those animals are called as ammonotelic. The animals which excrete majorly the urea, then we call it a ureotelic. Thus similarly, the animals which excrete uric acid as the main product, then we have to say uricotelic. Let's write examples of all these three different animals: ammonotelic animals, uricotelic animals and ureotelic animals. Right. Now example for ammonotelic, it is, we call it up as the bony fishes, aquatic insects, aquatic amphibians, and some what we call it up at tadpole larva. Then we can call it up a starfish, hydra. These are all come under the examples of ammonotelic. Now when it comes to ureotelic, we have the examples of the animals which is considered to be the examples. I am writing just example of this, which is to be considered here as like this. Frog is a specific example, toad, and then mammals. Uricotelic, when it comes to uricotelic, we have, don't forget this kind of word, land snail, reptiles, birds, these are all come under uricotelic. So based on these three main nitrogenous base, we classified the animals so and so with this particular example. Based on these also, we may get a kind of the questions. When it comes to insects also will gonna come under the uricotelic. Now that's how exactly we classify the animals based on the nitrogenous waste. The next most important thing is where, as per this nitrogenous base, we classified, that's fine. Now similarly, we should also understand now little more details about what is said to be the details, more details on uric acid. When it comes to uric acid, there is a kind of thing where we have to understand. This is called shelled eggs. The shelled eggs are called as, the another name as cleidoic egg. The cleidoic eggs are called as shelled eggs. Now what is the speciality of this shelled eggs or the cleidoic egg? Now when we have to understand this kind of a thing, as we already understood that the uric acid is least toxic. So whatever the embryo which is grown in this shelled eggs, the embryo which is there inside the shelled egg, where the uric acid which is the least toxic, which can able to produce what is called as the precipitate. The precipitate which forms in the shelled egg, which is the least toxic, will be accumulated in the outer layer of the shelled egg, and later because of the porosity which goes out of the surrounding. Now like this is a kind of advantage. There is an advantage because of the animals are with the shelled eggs. So what is the advantage is, so once again we say what is the advantage is uric acid is the least toxic, which can be in the form of precipitate. So exit out via the pores because of the shelled egg. Now that is a speciality, that kind of speciality answer. The question could also be asked as per the consideration of uric acid. Now in this above all this kind of uric acid, and then we also should understand more related to what we call it up as the animals which has to be understood in this particular way, where urea, uric acid and ammonotelic animals. There is also another special kind of a thing, what we call it up, aminotelic animals. Now what are these aminotelic animals? In this case, where animals will excrete amino acids. Amino acids, that's why the name given it as aminotelic. So in this we have an example that we call it up the one of the example which comes is called as Pila, which comes in the phylum Mollusca. Molluscans, one of the example which is to be considered as aminotelic animals. This is also kind of extraordinary kind of a question in the case of NEET. Other than this, we should also understand that ammonium also will be released. Ammonium, that is NH4, which is also released via the gill membranes. Via the gill membranes, which is permeability, such kind of permeability can be seen. So this is also can be kind of an extraordinary question, could also be asked here. Now generally here we are understanding the statement kind of a questions that the generally, you know, the shelled animals, shelled egg and non-shelled eggs. So in this non-shelled, already you have just guessing that shelled eggs, that means where exactly reptiles, birds come under this category, where there will be release of uric acid, and the non-shelled egg means having the urea as a less toxic. In this case, the frog, toad and mammals come under this category. Based on these also, there will be a question, shelled egg and also the non-shelled egg. Please make a note of that. Regarding these two categories also, there could be question, shelled egg and as well as non-shelled egg. Now this is a kind of a introductory part of it, where we are understanding about the animals. Now comes actual chapter which should be called as human excretory system. Human excretory system. In the human excretory system, as you all know that there are 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, 1 urinary bladder, 1 urinary bladder and 1 urethra. So this is when we have to go very detail about the system, that is where exactly we need to understand the numbers. And other than this, there will be a diagrammatic kind of a question where you have to understand this kind of question, like, so there will be diagrammatic question that the kidney and further the tube, what we call it up is a ureter, now this is a kidney and this should be called as ureter, and this should be called as urinary bladder, and this should be, the opening is called as urethra, where there is exit of urine. kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, and then urethra. So this is how exactly the parts that has to be understood here. Now in this way, the topic can be explained in further way as like this. So out of these, among these particular parts of it, now we will be understanding very important detail about the human kidney. Now when we have to understand this concept of it, here the certain things that we need to understand, that basic things of the kidney, that is, which is reddish brown in color, reddish brown in color, and it is bean shaped in structure, bean shaped in structure. And this surface, let's understand this surface as a convex surface, and this let's understand as concave surface, where this concavity will enter, this part, we call it up, there is a notch, that notch is called hilum. This notch is called hilum. And here exactly the blood vessels will gonna enter. Blood vessels will enter inside. Now the blood vessel name, we call it up, that blood vessel has renal artery, renal vein, renal artery and renal vein. Now as we surface this kind of a thing, now it is very, very important point to be understood here, like where is the location of the kidney. The location of the kidney, it is in between last thoracic vertebrae to the third lumbar. So once again I repeat, last thoracic vertebrae to the third lumbar. In this particular area, the kidneys are located. So as we know about the kidney, in the kidney there are two zones. There are two zones. One is called as a cortex. Another zone is called medulla. And this is considered to be the cortex. This is the outer region, the outer cortex, and inner medulla. Inner medulla. In the medullary region, there are 6 to 12 pyramids. So these are called as medullary pyramids. 6 to 12 pyramids are present. Now, just below this, if this is, please consider this is the pyramid, and let's consider this is the apex, and this apex region is called renal papilla. Renal papilla. So just below to that is the next region is called minor calyx. Minor calyx. And many calyces will gonna form as major calyx, and finally forms a funnel shaped structures called renal pelvis. This is how exactly the internal structure can be explained with the pathway. Okay, outer cortex, inner medulla, and then calyx, minor calyx, major calyx, and finally the funnel shaped structure is called the renal pelvis. And the renal pelvis further it connects to the ureter. Now these kind of descriptions explains us about the internal structure of the kidney. Now kidneys, there are two kidneys are there. So in that case, you know that the left kidney, when we talk about the left kidney is little higher than the right one. This kind of things also we need to understand here regarding the internal structure of the kidney.